Okay, guys, so today we're going to elaborate a little bit more about what we were talking in class, the difference between elements and compounds. So, when we talk about elements, of course, we have to talk about the periodic table of elements. And like we discussed in class, every element in the entire universe is listed on this periodic table. And you will learn a lot more about it in 8th grade. And these include all natural and even some man-made elements. So actually, let's talk about the information on the periodic table. Every element has a name. It also then has an abbreviation, which we call an element symbol. So every element is going to be represented by either one or two letters. Now, here are the rules of an element, and it will become very important when we get into chemical formulas. The very first letter of an atomic symbol must always be capitalized. So, for example, H is hydrogen. You only have one, so it has to be capitalized. Then look at helium. Helium starts with an H, but H was already taken, so they add a second letter. When a second letter is added, or if it has one, it has to be lowercase. So those are the rules, and they are very strict for very important reasons. So every atomic symbol or element symbol is going to be made up of one or two letters. The first letter must be capitalized, and the second letter must be lowercase. And pretty much it's going to get to the point where you will already be able to identify a lot of the elements by their symbol. So let's review your periodic table. As I told you at the very beginning of the school year, we glued a periodic table in the back. So I want you to use that now to find the following elements. I want you to write their symbol on the left column of your notes. Okay, so you know how we do our C notes and we have that tiny left column. So let's see who knows their periodic table the best. So what do you think the symbol for carbon, helium, lithium, oxygen, sodium, gold, nitrogen, and hydrogen are? Do not forget to follow the rules of capitalization and lowercase. Now keep in mind, not all of them will make sense because the periodic table is based off of Latin, which was the very first language and the language of science. So go ahead and pause the video and fill that out. Now I want you to make a T-chart, and go ahead and do this in the main area of the page of your notes. And I want you to divide it into two columns, elements and compounds. Now I don't care if you put elements on the left or the right, but I do want two columns. So here are some examples, and I want you to decide which one is an element and which ones are compounds. So H, do you think that is an element or a compound? HE, is that an element or a compound? So if you believe that H is an element, write it under the element column. If you think it's a compound, then write it under the compound column. But make sure you understand you cannot be an element and a compound at the same time. So let's go ahead and fill this out. If you get some wrong, it's not a big deal, but I am going to be checking it. So if I don't even see this T-chart, that's going to be major points off. So let's review what an element is. The definition of an element are substances that cannot be broken down into any other substance by chemical or physical means. Pretty much elements are pure. The periodic table organizes these elements based off their physical and chemical properties. An element can be made of a single atom, like just Na, or two of the same atoms joined together, like Na, Na, in case we would write Na2. So He or H2, because they are both made of the same type of element, it is pure. So let's go into the definition of a compound. When elements are combined or chemically bonded, they make a compound. So the definition of a compound is a substance made up of two or more different elements that are chemically bonded and set together in a set ratio. And examples could be HCl, H2O, that kind of stuff. Okay? All right, so that's it. Pretty short, easy notes. Tomorrow in class, we will go over the answers of element versus compounds and the atomic symbol. So if you need to rewind it, go ahead. If you don't have a periodic table in your journal for some reason, then go ahead and look one up on the internet or just pause it and use the 1 here. Okay, so there you go. Hopefully you wrote the elements down. Here's your periodic table if you don't have one. Now there's no excuses. See you tomorrow.